All right, I'm back. Late, but back. That's unfortunate. Something's going on here with my MacBook Pro. Check this out. Well, light's gone out now, but the light was on the plug-in. I got plugged into the wall there, and the light was on the plug-in wire, and it wasn't. My laptop's not charging. And all of a sudden, there's no power at all to it, so hopefully it's the cable. I hope it's a cable. So anyway, I opened up that Riverside app, the one that I've been using to have guests on here, and it's working for my phone. So what the heck? Because I can't go to sleep yet, because as soon as fishing ended today, I had to have a nap. Just did 2 days with our friend Jeff. Remember Jeff? I don't know where to look here. Where's the camera? Right there. Our buddy Jeff blew himself up a couple years ago, and I went out and hung out in his tent. One time, I had a long BS session on here. Oh, boat sound. Crazy. Just heard a boat motor going by. I thought it was the sound of my boat. But anyway, him and his son came out again. And it's tough fishing for everybody. Holy, it was a grind out there. But they got their limit. They got a whole bunch of fish. And a halibut. So that was pretty cool. And they went home, and then I finished up and completely zonked for a bit. So anyway, I'm all fed, ready to go. I got another friend of ours from here coming fishing tomorrow. Michael Gilmore, sorry. And he's always done really well. I know he's really excited. It's his favorite trip of the year. And here's an interesting note I have to share. You're not going to believe it. Well, you'll believe it. But anyway, Sarah has a loop that she does a big walk with Ruby. And remember, I think it was last year. Okay, let's go over the stage of events, all right? So we had something banging on the roof of the house. There's been lights in the house since we have lived there. Nothing's really gone on around the home on the property for a while, I don't think. And also down in the river, you guys have seen things across the river from me. I've had things thrown at me at the river, 100%. Bounced off my quad, something. And we walked the river last year, one of the rivers in the backyard. And I found that stomped frickin' trail leading to the river when there's no fish in the river. The river's actually really, really low, super hot out. No bears, and no reason for any humans to go there because you can't get across the river there. And it comes from big timber. Didn't know. Thought about putting a trail camera on it this year. I'll have to go take a look. While walking down that river, floating down the river, we had two small inner tubes with us too. And Sarah said, she goes, "Can't you hear that?" I'm like, "Hear what?" She goes, "That crashing. Something's crashing beside us along the bank." And there's a steep bank, and I'm looking right in there, and I'm like, I walked over them, like, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. And she's like, "Well, it's been paralleling us the whole time." Then we went into the timber, big timber on the opposite side of the river, and that's where she said she saw either was a bunch of sticks laid out in a row and all in a pattern on the ground. She looked at it like, "That's weird." Looked up, told me to come over, look down, gone. And there's also a bunch of sticks leaning on a tree. No big deal, right? Whatever. But note taken. Odd. And then, very odd for her to see the sticks, formation, whatever she saw, right in front of her, and then gone. Now, we've also had a local taxi driver emailed us to tell us about some history of his family, some couple farms in the area, one just down the road from us, where these people were seen a lot, along the Stamp River. Stamp Sumas River. And the taxi driver also had a fare in his cab and seen one of these people cross the highway heading up my road in the dark. No taken. Surprise to me? Not at all. Now, Sarah was on her walk last summer. She's going down through this timbered area, big, mature fir, never been cut down trees. I always take note of that. And this is last year with Ruby. And she said she felt something or somebody rush right up behind her. Turned around, nobody's there. Felt it. Drove her insane, right breathing down her neck. Not breathing, but you know what I mean? Felt like it was right beside her. Ruby's shitting herself. She's like, "We're getting out of here." Left. Now, here's the latest update. So this is the first time something's happened since then, I believe. And she texted me earlier and said, "You're not going to believe this. I was going down this one route and about to head down towards the river and heard 3 loud blasts on a tree down below to the left of her." And Ruby's like, "Huh?" Looking at her. And she's like, "Huh?" And then she said she heard it again, way louder, 1. And then she said out loud to Ruby, "I think we're going to turn around and get out of here." And she turned around. When she turned around and started walking that way, then she said the loudest, what I said to her, I talked to the phone after. I go, it sounded like wood on wood? She goes, "Oh yeah, something real big hitting one of the trees." Scared the shit out of her. And she turned around and abruptly walked all the way home. So all I said to her was, I go, "Well, from what's been going down the past few years, you better prepare yourself in your brain to see one of these people." And she basically said, "F that." I go, we could always go down there together, maybe. I'll come home tomorrow. I think I'll come home. We could always go down there tomorrow, maybe, and talk to them. It, he, her, whoever. And then she says, "I don't want to." And she goes, "If I see one of these people," she goes, "I think that's going to be the end of hunting for me." I really think so. She goes, "Yeah, I don't want to see one." So there you go. There's the home front update. Now, I wonder why there's nothing really blatant in my face happens to me at home. I wonder if that's because I always keep on saying just buzz off, I don't know. I wonder. But she sure is getting a lot of attention, right? And I have a funny feeling she's going to have I think they're going to let her see him. I have a feeling, don't you? It's adding up, right? It's adding up, especially if we go by what everyone shares here. All the events leading up to, right? If that's the way it went for some people here. So there you go. What else? What else? The Owl Man emailed me and said he'd be willing to come on here and talk. I'm like, all right. So I forwarded his email off to Sarah and she can line that up. And there we go. We have questions and answers. And learn some interesting knowledge. And the Owl Man's ride to his puzzle piece. What else? I think that's about it. I got Bobby's book right here. I got some emails on the phone, but how am I going to do that? I can't read the emails off of my phone, and I'm using the phone to use the Riverside app, and my laptop crapped it. I wonder if I got my notes updated, because I might have an email on here before it absolutely craps out. Let's see what kind of juice I got in this sucker. Not that the late great Bobby Short's information isn't extremely interesting and helpful to many. Excuse me, let's see if my notes synced up. Notes. Oh, look, I've got them. All right, so there's that. An article. All right, here's a fresh email. Let's see if this laptop stays running for me long enough to get some of these read off here. This is great. Look at me getting all tech savvy and shit. Hey, mate. Okay, it's titled Possible Dogman in Australia. Fresh off the frying pan into our hands. Hi, mate. I thought I would share my own story from 1998. And at that time, we were at Middle Dural. Dural. North, South, West Australia. What? Is that how it is? North, South, West Australia? Huh? Anyway, NSW Australia. We lived on a property that backed up onto the Australian bush, very close to multiple large national parks. These days, I see that most of the area where this was has been turned into small acreages with large houses. One night, I was with a family member alone, just the two of us. We were out very late, and we're standing in the foyer near the front door. We had the light on for the veranda and had big double doors that were yellowish glass, so you could see through fairly well. While we were standing, looking out and talking, a huge human-type thing came up the stairs and walked past the double door windows. It walked extremely slow and strange. It was on two legs like a human, only it was hunched in an odd way. It was side on as it walked by, and the outline was unusual to say the least. It had a long face and a large skull, very long arms, and it was extremely tall and unbalanced in body type. It was dark looking, but because of the yellow glass, I cannot say if it was black or just a very dark shade of another color. I never saw its eyes. It just walked on by and vanished into the night. We tried to take the dogs with us to look outside, and neither would go through the door. The border collie was making crying noises, and he and the Roddy turned tail and ran back into the house. So we freaked out, locked the door up tight. Never saw it again. For over 20 years, I had no idea what we had seen until a few years ago when I saw a story from someone else and then looked into more detail on some of these types of things. The outline doesn't match with what some call yowies here in Australia, so I am sure we saw the dog-type creature. I showed drawings to the other person involved, and they pointed at the dogman one as well. Had some strange experiences over the last 50 years, and I'm sure we are not told the truth on things. Kindest regards, Sam. You're right on that, Sam. We are not taught the truth of anything. Nothing. Nothing at all. Now, what do we got here? What if I could pull this off? This is... Who sent me this? M. Lewis sent me this in. I wonder if I should wait till I'm at home, because he's got a newspaper clipping of a story. And I don't know if I can... Well, let's see if... I might be able to do this. This is a newspaper clipping. Harrison Lake, February 26. What year is this? Does it say? No. It's an old one. So I got the screenshot of the clipping itself. 1938. Here's the title of it. Newspaper article submitted by J.W. Burns. In case you want to read reviewers, it may be difficult to read the photos of the pages. Self-punk giant crushes bear. Is from 1938 Vancouver. Quote, introducing BC's hairy giants, end quote, from Maclean's in 1929 as images. Okay. All right, here we go. So there you go. Back in the day. I'll show you what it looks like. There's the newspaper clipping right there, all right? Here we go. Oh, yeah, the battery on the laptop. Hope it lasts. Giant crushes bear. And then in brackets it says, he says. Harrison Lake, here's amazing tidings from the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch is routed again. From the depths of the Harrison Lake forest comes a news story of the hairy wild men whose feats have cropped up in Indian stories for years. This is the tale of an unfortunate grizzly bear. Fingers of one of the mysterious giants. What? This is the tale of an unfortunate grizzly bear which died under the choking fingers of one of the mysterious giants. Must have been a thrilling fight, whether you believe it or not. Whoa. Harrison Lake, February 26th. A terrible struggle for life in which prodigious strength was matched against savage ferocity ended last week in the strangling of Bruin after 10 minutes of wild struggle. A hairy giant of the Sasquatch, the wild man of the Chehalis hinterland, crushed him. The story of this unusual drama of the wilderness was told by 3 Harrison River Indians who were spectators of the singular incident one evening as they were walking along the Chehalis River close to the canyon. It was a skookum, bracket, strong and brack fight, said Jimmy Craneback. And as we had never seen a hairy giant of the Sasquatch in a fight before, I'm telling you, we got the biggest kick of our lives. Asked how they came to witness the unusual battle, Jimmy said, quote, we were on our way home after an all-day unsuccessful hunt in the Chehalis Mountains. We had just crossed the government road at the Chehalis River, a mile or so north of the Indian village, when all at once we heard a roar in the forest ahead of us that shook the firs and cedars. We stopped to listen. Down the old trail ahead of us, we could hear groans, growls, thuds, and then the snap and crack of rotten branches, as if old Nick himself had gone off his noodle and was running amok through the dark forest. In awe, we stopped dead in our tracks. In the fading twilight in the shadowy forest, we first thought we were looking on two bears fighting each other to death. As we stood beside a log, 20 yards away, we could see the great struggle of strength. There was a crunching of bones as the monsters in their rage came to grips with each other and tumbled and tossed about in their fury on the forest floor within a few feet of the Chehalis. But there was something about one of the monsters that puzzled us. We wouldn't have raised our rifles when we did, explained Jimmy, but it looked as if they were about to roll over the bank into the river any moment, and we losing it. We wouldn't have raised our rifles when we did, explained Jimmy, but it looked as if they were about to roll over the bank into the river any moment, and we didn't want to lose such big game. But then we never shot, for as we raised our rifles, we were startled by a yell. It had in it something human, and came from one of the combatants, which to our astonished ears sounded like, "Pooh, woo, you." "Good gosh," said Ike Joe as we lowered our rifles. "Boys, it's a Sasquatch and a bear. We'll take the side of the giant. It's well to be on their side. He's put up a great fight. Let's step in and help him." The boys were in a sweat, but happy the Sasquatch gave a poo-woo, which timely utterance had no doubt saved his life. "Finally," said Jimmy, "the giant got his powerful, hairy arms around the bear's neck. It must have been a humdinger of a hold, for the bear began to gasp for breath, and gasping, pawed at the air with his tongue was hanging out, and the wild man had won the fight." End of story. 1938, Vancouver. Did it happen? Don't know. It wasn't there. Possible? Very. Don't you think? Very possible. I'll read. I think there's some more in there too to read later, but I'll get at her, especially when I get home tomorrow. Now, this is from the late great Bobby Short, and here is the next entry. Is titled "Sasquatch Sticks Out His Tongue, Touches Witness." Here's an unusual one kind of report. A representative of the Peabody Museum at Harvard University and one of the great anthropologists of our time, the late Dr. Carlton Kuhn, a Harvard alumnus, filed an interesting report about a man who just lived below the border in Massachusetts. I neglected to note if that was at Connecticut or Rhode Island. You might remember Kuhn as the American anthropologist who remarked, quote, "If Africa was the cradle of mankind, it was only an indifferent kindergarten. Europe and Asia were our principal schools," end quote. A man way before his time, Dr. Kuhn's investigation of this Bigfoot case was labor-intensive. His attention to detail is worth noting. The witness's truck, a converted camper, was parked alongside a wooded glade just off the highway. He and his son stopped there for the night and went to sleep. The boys in the camper shell behind the front seat and the informant behind the steering wheel. At 11 p.m., the man is awakened by the vehicle rocking side to side and believed it was a violent earthquake. He stepped out of the truck and was immediately grasped on the left shoulder by a 7-foot-tall creature covered with light brown or yellowish hair. The Sasquatch's right hand pushed the man off of the running board of the truck and onto the ground. The witness said the Sasquatch looked down on him on the ground, and then the big behemoth stuck his tongue out at the man. Yes, that's how the report read, believe it or not. The man jumped free, of course, and drove off, the Sasquatch in hot pursuit. Both the man and his sons were polygraphed at Dr. Kuhn's expense and insistence, and all three passed the difficult questions. The father had never seen a Sasquatch, but his sons had seen one on television. Dr. Kuhn went to the site twice and noted there were still tracks deeply depressed an inch and a half to 2 inches below the surface. The rest were covered with pine needles. Their pressure exerted with each foot placement into the moist soil was quite noticeable. By comparison, Kuhn's own size 12 shoes left no discernible displacement in the mud. He stared at the ground, pondering the implications, his own weight being just short of 300 pounds. It seemed like the Sasquatch deliberately fired the placement of its foot forward in a downward thrust of incredible force. The sheer weight of the creature couldn't impress into the ground that far without exerted force behind it. Woo. Unable to equal it. There are any numbers of recorded cases where tractors cannot equal the force of the Sasquatch foot or the distance between imprints. I think he meant there are many numbers. In Dr. Kuhn's found report, he said his informant's son reported seeing the creature's face peering into his bedroom window at some point after the roadside incident. In the same area, 2 women reported a blonde Sasquatch crouched down in front of a stone wall, but both women refused Dr. Kuhn's request for an interview. What is there to learn from Dr. Kuhn's testimony? The unusual aspect of the Sasquatch's behavior cited in this case was the sticking out of the tongue and the touching, the grabbing of the vehicle's occupant. Both mannerisms considered highly unusual. Kuhn's remarks about exerted foot placement force are very interesting too. With regard to the Sasquatch sticking out his tongue, one scientist theorized that the uncivilized ancient man lived in small groups or packs. The males, when showing a high degree of mistrust or fear, would stand erect, chest out, exposing his genitals as a threat. The genitals, in some cases, were probably erect. In the wild, it's a show of power and excitement. The great apes use this display and usually in a high state of aggression or alarm. In modern society, a display of one's genitalia is frowned upon. Showing the tongue, sticking out your tongue, takes the place of showing the genitals. The meaning of the gesture is the same regardless. It's a show of aggression and, to a lesser degree, intimidation. I remember it vividly from 6th grade boys. Whatever the reason, Dr. Kuhn felt it was not aggression, but a clumsy way of interacting with a human. I don't know if I agree with his assessment, but however, how you feel about the behavior of the Sasquatch, the end result, of course, terrified the witness. If the Sasquatch had any intent to harm the man, he could have, no question. But all he did was stick out his tongue, and that in itself is unreported behavior, but intriguing nevertheless. That wasn't the only thing the witness observed. In Dr. Kuhn's filing, he wrote, "The animal stank nauseously. He smelled like rotten fish." Smell and the rank odor is a common theme found in many verifiable accounts. Some people's sense of smell is keener than others, and some simply do not take a mental note of any smell, so frightened are they by the sight of a hair-covered giant. In my personal account, I was within 10 feet and smelled nothing. But I should have smelled something, given the condition. Hold on. Given the condition of the Sasquatch's filthy, fecal, crusted buttocks. Yet I didn't smell anything. Oh. Statistically, Sasquatch odor is only reported in 30% of the cases I've tallied, but apparently it's reported more often in internet reports than it was in years past. May be that the reports of odor are exaggerated, parroted, or an outright bit of an embellishment. A stench in the air need not mean there's a Sasquatch around, but the internet often influences the thinking of a witness. It's hard to know what's real and what isn't since the advent of the internet, and God bless the mighty Google, which none of us can live without, but right or wrong, it does influence. All right. Another one I forgot to mention, and Sarah also smelt that disgusting stink last year when she felt a presence right behind her. Side note, Bobby's next entry is titled Grabbing. Another example of the grabbing behavior by a Sasquatch was made public by Los Angeles law enforcement officer Ken Kuhn in 1979. Kuhn described himself as, quote, "This old detective bureau commander," end quote. On August 27, 1966, 3 Fontana, California teenagers rushed into the local sheriff's station to report an encounter with a giant ape man. A frantic Jerry Lou Mendenhall, 16, told officers she and her friends were driving slowly along a dirt road north of town when the creature suddenly emerged from the bushes and approached their moving car. The creature reached through the driver's window and grabbed her throat. Near hysterics, Mendenhall put the pedal to the metal and took off straight to the sheriff's substation, where a group of officers laughed and ridiculed her, saying, quote, "Next you'll be telling us the creature wore a pink bikini." She then revealed visible scratches on her neck and said they had been made when the monster's huge hairy hand grabbed at her. Retired Police Chief Cancun. While the behavior is rare in the database, Kuhn elected to believe the informant after examining the witness's neck. Oh, that must suck. Hey, that just must suck. Having all these thousands of people having these experiences, and you go to who we've been programmed to report to. I don't know why. And you report to those so-called authorities and you get laughed at. Holy shit, is that going to make you withdraw from society or what? It's the wrong thing. We don't have authority. We're not supposed to, right? We report to each other. That's the most important thing you can do, is report this to your fellow human being in your society, your group, your circle. That's who we report to. We don't report shit to authorities. I hope everybody's learning that today, rapidly. What else we got? Fat with discolored teeth. I've never heard of a fat Sasquatch person. Dr. Trull, Trull, the Enigma editor of Periscope.com, retold a story published in the Times and in the 1997 Democrat newspapers in Nesa, South Carolina. Quote, Jackie Hutto from the small town in Nesa, South Carolina, reported that he saw the creature outside his home at midday on July 15th. He was inside the house when he heard the family dog barking from inside a dog pen in the backyard. When Jackie went outside to quiet the dog, when he says he saw a large creature tugging at the wire walls of the dog pen. He reported the animal was about 8.5 feet tall, and was covered in black hair except for its face, chest, knees, where brown skin was visible. The creature bared its large, discolored teeth that were shaped like baby blocks. Shaped like baby blocks, that was a quote, and possessed prominent male genitalia. Additionally, in contrast to the popular conception of Bigfoot as a lanky and muscular beast, this creature was described as, quote, really fat, end quote. Man, there's so much. Doesn't matter who it is, here, Bobby, gazillions of other places online, I guess you'd say now, past people who are researchers, books written. How many? How many people know what's up? I don't know the answers to what's up, but they know what's up. How many people do you think? Holy shit. What an amazing effort. That still today amazes me. The effort put forward to keep people laughing and not taking this topic seriously is frickin' incredible. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty frickin' impressive, don't you think? Holy shit. You know, sometimes the obvious really takes me and just, it'll get me, like right now, that fact. It's just like, you know, as I'm holding on to this book, look at how thick this sucker is. All that counts that the late, great Bobby Short dug up on her own. Just one person. Scraping all that up for years. All the people who came here. All the people who went everywhere else and talked and told and shared. Holy shit. But then again, the effort they put forward to keep us all dumb as a frickin' jar of pickles is incredible anyway. It starts with the children, right? And work your way up and along. Anyway, I won't babble about that, although I probably should nonstop. Shall we find something else in here? Jumping, leaping, Sasquatch behavior. Fremont County, Colorado. March 29, 2012. My son Kurt, 38, grandson 14, and myself, 69, were in the mountains going to look for elk and deer sheds. We were about 3 miles from the road in 12-inch plus of snow, trying to walk in an old logging road. As we went up in elevation, the snow became too deep to walk in much further. Then, following the logging road, we went into the heavier timber, where the snow was not as deep. And as soon as we went in the timber, I noticed that something disturbed the snow. There were no other tracks around, so I thought a hawk or an owl got a rabbit, causing the flurried snow. But looking closer, it looked like there were human 5-toed prints in the snow. Taking a closer look around, back about 20 feet or so, I noticed more disturbed snow. In that track were perfect footprints of very large feet. The feet were brought together with snow pushed up between the toes and feet as if they were brought together to jump again. This was almost unbelievable as the track impressions were 20 feet apart. What could jump/leap that far? Going to the original track, there were no more to be seen. We crossed the logging road, and there was yet another set of tracks where the creature landed flat-footed, spacing between its feet, jumping across the road, which was a 22-foot leap. Snow on the road is about 30 inches deep. We began following the tracks for about a mile or less. The tracks averaged 15 to 18 feet apart as the timber was getting much thicker. By now I knew it was a Bigfoot because of the size of the tracks, about a size 15 to 16. They were not bear or mountain lion tracks. I've been in the mountains all my life, and I know what makes certain tracks. No animal can jump that far that I know of. Anyway, the tracks, distance apart, was very compelling evidence for me. I thought this is the best evidence I've ever heard of. Pictures of Bigfoot can be faked. Bears mistaken for Bigfoot are someone in costume. You can't fake 20-foot jumps in the snow with no other tracks in between. Bill Tate, Colorado. No, you can't. No, you cannot. End of story on that one. That'd be pretty crazy. I'd love to see that. I'd just like to see that intelligence in the tracks, right? Jumping clear across a 22-foot wide road of fresh snow to not leave a track. How many times have they done that? How many times? But why? Why do that, right? Human's not going to catch your ass anyway. Nobody's... Oops. Uh-oh. See if I light switch. Get that back on there. Excuse me. To further demonstrate the incredible lengths and leaping behavior, in 1992, Lucullus Virgil McWhorter wrote an article about the Sasquatch and, quote, one-leg leaping. Here's the reference to the Washington Indians and what they articulated. Quote, there's another tribe of Steyahma, a tall, slender race having but one leg. They live far to the north and are seldom seen. They are the deadly enemy of the Cascade Steyaha, who are mortally afraid of them. They too are nocturnal and can cover vast stretches of country in a single night. Their mode of locomotion is supposedly long leaps, since the foot impressions appear at a considerable distance apart. Some Indians contend that these enigmatical beings are possessed of 2 legs, the same as any other people, and the difference is in the foot alone. Both tracks' impressions are identical, conforming to the right or the left foot exclusively. What? First time heard of that one. Bigfoot hunting turkeys. Quote, dear Bigfoot encounters, I'm a Kansas wheat producer. Several years ago, I was working the harvest with the usual grain combine when something made a clatter noise. I stopped quickly and climbed out of the cab to see what it was. I was parked in a section of land sandwiched between a runoff and running creek that takes water to the house and feeds our well. After checking the equipment, I went to get back behind the wheel to carry on. It was then I spotted this dark thing making a run across the field about 40 yards in front of me. I climbed up and into the cab and watched this giant man figure burst out of nowhere and shoot across my field, which was an uncut section of wheat. I did not believe what I was seeing. It was a reddish-brown color with hair over its body, the whole body. I'm thinking, what the? These things are real? It took me several minutes to collect my thoughts. The Bigfoot quickly gathered up 2 turkeys before they could get airborne and headed for the trees that bordered the creek on the lower section. I never saw anything like that in my life. I'm sober, age 57, and sound of mind. Because of the wheat and corn around here, we've always had excellent turkey hunts, but nobody ever knew I've had a Bigfoot to deal with. It is possible there was only one of them around here. Is it possible that there was only one of them around here? It was early morning, 8:15 a.m. If you need to know, and that was the last I saw of it. Maybe lasted half a minute or less. And as to its size, I don't have a guess. I raise my hand, this is true. Please not use my real name or email address. My family is known here, thank you. Anonymous, Kansas, 06. Yeah, the poor guy just got up in the morning and tried to figure out what he could make up for the day, right? Said nobody ever. According to its length, this next bit of correspondence should have been placed under favorite stories, but because it mentions turkey vocalizations, I decided to place it here. The informant was a neighborhood fellow that lived next door to a member on the staff at the medical school near Paducah, Kentucky. He became very excited when I spoke with him by phone, and here's the condensed version of his 8-page account. Quote, we purchased a house/large cabin type a year ago in an area that backs up to what's known as the Daniel Boone National Forest, Kentucky. The back of my place has a 16-foot wide by 30-foot wide wooden deck with cantilevers off the back side of the main house extending out and under tree foliage. It is supported by 6x6 wood beam stanchions that hold up the porch. The deck is 11 feet or so off the ground. On top of that deck, there's a 4-foot railing capped on top where the wife puts her plants and several assorted bird feeders. From the railing top to the ground slope is between 10 to 15 feet. The height is important to gauge the height of the Bigfoot. This sounded familiar, this one. On the side of our property, there's a narrow 3-foot wide dirt game trail that goes up into some of the most rugged terrain a man can imagine. It is characterized by rolling mountains, steep grades, deep gullies, and sharp overhangs. It is hardwood, old-growth trees. The forest turns magnificent colors in the fall. That is why we bought the place. And a few stories came along with the purchase of the house by the way of the real estate agent. The previous owners told her that they kept up the bird feeders, and once 2 bear cubs got up on the deck and tore up the deck furniture pretty good, knocking over the bird bath. There are claw markings on the support beams to verify her account, and some claw marks on the railing topper. A few railing slats went missing and were never found. That's a weird one. The other tale is about 2 bears that came up and ate from the bird feeders at night. We've been here a year now and have seen no bears. At the long end of the decking is a staircase that goes down to the ground and meets up with a game trail that takes off into the underbrush that is otherwise too thick to walk through, but on to the story. I was half sleeping, half reading a book when I heard a gobbler calling. What a strange air there was about that place that morning. I sat up and listened. From under this porch where I'd been dozing off, then came a soft clucking sounds like turkey hen clucking sounds. In case you don't know, Kentucky, especially Daniel Boone National Forest, brags about having the best turkey hunts in the U.S. That's true. We never have to buy Thanksgiving turkeys up here. Oops, hold on. I relaxed, laid back, and then I heard a loud gobble coming from what sounded like a big old tom under the porch, and it was answered by another tom clucking in the trees. The gobbling continued along with intermittent clucking, and I thought 2 things. First, they probably are lunching on spilled birdseed from the porch feeders, and 2, where did my wife put my scattergun? I went in the house, took a few minutes to pack shells into my Browning A5, and hurried back onto the porch, but it was again quiet. I laid back on the staircase, the Browning shotgun across my lap, and waited thinking turkeys ain't too bright, and maybe he'd fly up onto the porch to get at the good seeds, but time passed. Maybe 30 minutes with no clucking sounds, and then off into the woods I hear them clucking with an occasional gobble. I figured they moved on, so my enthusiasm diminished some, and I fell asleep again. I woke up with the sun beating down on my head. Sat upright. I'd figured I'd go into the house for a bite of lunch, and I no sooner had gotten to my feet when straight ahead of me, off the porch, comes a very loud gobble. I look. I see this crazy thing. This freak of nature standing on the staircase that leads up to the deck. I jumped back startled, reached for the shotgun, aimed, quickly fired, and boom. The shot tore out a bunch of railing. A flower pot and wood went flying. The birds scattered, and so did this freak. The best look I got of him was leaping off the porch stairs and flying up the dirt path. My hunting buddy comes flying out of the house with a loud, "What the hell?" And I pointed. Harold saw what I saw as it fled up the game trail. We only saw it for a second and it was gone. And I tell you, it moved. We go in the house and talk it over and decide to load up and go look for sign. Neither of us thought much about Bigfoot, but that is what we seen. Down on the dirt path, we discovered tracks of a barefooted man. They were 18 inches long, showing 5 toes on the left foot and 4 toes on the right one. Little toe was missing. The tracks went on for a quarter mile and then left the path and went up a steep precipice with sharp rocks that hung over the dirt path. It was the perfect place to ambush deer, and thinking we could get ambushed, we thought better of following the tracks any further. We sat down in the shadows and watched until 4 that afternoon, but we never saw anything but squirrels that continually chirped their warning signal that we were in there. You see, squirrels never give up. Their danger chirping goes on all night. And one more thing. What we saw was nothing like the Monster Quest television program. This guy was enormous, with hair hanging over its face like a sheepdog. We mostly saw its backside, which was covered in short body hair, but little detail of anything else. It happened very fast, and it was gone. If it wasn't a Bigfoot we saw that day, then you folks should know that Kentucky turkeys come haired, not feathered, are 10 feet tall, and partial to stealing bird seed. There you go. All right. That's enough of that. Probably start talking myself into going to sleep so I can get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning and hopefully see the fogs rolling in and hopefully grind it out and make sure our friend Michael Gilmore gets a bunch of fish to take home to Alberta. What else? You know, I'm looking forward to having a conversation with the Owl Man. I think he knows a handful of people who have been looking into these beings, and I think he knows of other people who have allegedly had communication with these people. And like I said before, so far for me, and we're all just sitting on the same coffee table bullshitting. We're all friends and family here. Ando's story in that department. But, you know, do I believe people are communicating with them? I absolutely believe that people have communicated with these people. On average, some of the most credible people I've been in contact with have all told me they do not tell the truth. Red flag. But a lot of people, they've selected me to give the messages for humanity, etc., etc., etc. But there's no substance there so far. Not that I've noticed, except the obvious. You know, what's going on the face of the planet, to nature, etc., from mankind's activities. But from what we know here, from the patterns, from all the tens of thousands of you people, do these people know our intent, our attitudes, our demeanors, our personalities? Do I believe that? Absolutely. Abso-frickin-lutely. Do I believe they can make themselves visible to the human eye or not visible to the human eye? That's an obvious, of course. What I believed years ago? No. I have to accept the testimonies from way too many witnesses. It's fact for me. Roger, I get it. I believe that. I take that as truth. Now, when I think it was the Alman's email who said when conversing with these people, they said it's harsh in the wintertime. It's tough to find food. It can be hard. For me, I mean, let's face it, you guys, I don't have to prove anything. I've been in the woods hunting, gathering a long time, and I've spent a lot of winters chasing the predators. And you know what? It's actually, in a way, it's almost easier. A lot of people say, yep, it's tough to get game in the wintertime. No, it's not. It's actually easier. Everything's herded up. They can't hide. Like this time of year, springtime, all the cows and the fawns, they go off and they get all secluded, and then they go and they really walk around too much, and they have their babies and they stay hidden. As the green line goes back up the mountains and mountainous areas after winter and early spring, all the game that was condensed in the valley bottoms and then those big patches of timber, the deer and the patches of timber, etc., they all disperse and spread out again all over the place, which means a big effort to find game. Wintertime, everything's condensed in the bottoms of the valleys. Everything's condensed in that big timber. Believe me, I've been following wolves forever. And as you go down one particular lake, you can look it up, Carpenter Lake. Google it up. Carpenter Lake is a long frickin' lake. You drive down that lake in the wintertime and you look down on the ice, and all it is blood and fur blotches everywhere. The wolves are just picking off and gobbling up whatever they feel like anytime, because it's easier. And all you got to do is get them on the ice, and then it's game over, which you can see by driving along any frozen lake here in British Columbia. But because it's wintertime doesn't make animals disappear. Okay? Not that that's a major point, but I'm saying is the absolute speed, the intelligence, the skills these people have. I would like to think most people would stop comparing them to just a wild, nomadic person or a tribe, or comparing them to the habits of a pack of wild animals like dogs or wolves or predators. You know what I mean? Nope. N.A. Not applicable as far as I'm concerned from what I've learned so far. Noisy boat going by. It does make sense. And now, like I said earlier too, there's some questions that people seem to overlook. I'm in contact with one of these people, knowing what they can do. I mean, they have followed researchers home over hundreds of frickin' miles, like that. Somebody's gone to the researcher. I think it was a doctor or a researcher in Alaska, I believe. Shit, I like to get a hold of this guy. I keep forgetting his name. He sent me a book. Goes to his research area, travels all the way home, driving forever. The second he gets out of his car, the exact same noises he was using to try to attract was belted out at him in his driveway from the backyard. And then more things started happening on his property. Instantly. You got a being that can move from point A to point B, snap of a finger without a vehicle, and be there with you. I don't think they're going to have any hard time finding something to eat. At all. Ever. Never. Right? But furthermore, if I was in communication, I would be asking. The good not the good questions, but some answers that would really get my attention. Who are you scared of? Who kills you? How do they kill you? Do you ever have to fight, go to war, battle? How do you do it? If you ever do. What human beings have successfully hunted your people down and killed them? What are their names? What do they look like? How do they find you? What do they drive? What do they fly? What language do they speak? Where did they live? Because from what we know here, these people know where we freaking live. No matter how many hundreds of miles away we are, while we're either pursuing them, seeing them, looking interested in them, and they show the interest right back in your house and go to your home. Like that. Right? So if there is groups of human beings tracking down and killing these people, they know where those individuals live. Yes, you bet your ass they do. They do. And I want to hear about it. You know what I mean? Somebody is having fluent communication with these people. I want to know the answers to those questions, which should be easy. That should be a real easy answer to get if you're communicating smoothly with these people. Sitting down, hey, Harry. Hey, Steve, how's it going today? Not bad, Steve. What you been doing? Oh, running around, beating on trees, scaring people. Oh, yeah, crazy. Yeah, I ran into somebody trying to kill us the other day. No way. What happened? Tell me about it. You know what I mean? Just going back and forth, having a conversation. I haven't heard of that yet. I don't think. We'll see. Are we going to hear about it? I frickin' hope so. Don't you? I frickin' hope so. I hope so, because I got some big damn questions. You know? That one question pops up to my mind right away if I have the opportunity. I want to know what scares you and why. What scares you and why? Why? You know? What scares you and why? Who makes your rules? Who enforces them? Where do you go when we can't see you? How do you travel from point A to point B like that? Show me. Can I do it too? You know what I mean? Does it hurt? How old are you? You know? You got a name? Want to go hunting tomorrow? Together? And we can bullshit when we go hunting together? Whatever, right? You know what I mean? There's a great big thick fog between these people and us. A big thick fog. And it's intentional. Without a doubt. It's an intentional placed fog. It sucks being in such thick fog all the time. But anyway, I'm babbling. I guess it is time for me to fall asleep. We'll keep digging, we'll keep talking, we'll keep sharing. Because you gotta admit, this topic has come a long frickin' way in a fairly short amount of time, right? It's gotta go somewhere. It's gotta come to a head. Everything has to. Anyway. I'll probably be back in the man cave tomorrow. And you know what? I might be able to pull off tomorrow, see what the weather's doing. And I might be able to pull off going to this one particular place on the way home. And I'm going to sit up there, and I might even yell out a couple questions to the forest. And I'll get some voices heard here at the same time. And then I'll go home and load it up on to the internet. Oh, so chipping the contest. I don't know what's going on. We've sent out the last Hail Mary for help. I don't know how many quarterfinals and finals this frickin' contest has, but I had a gut feeling there's no way they're going to let him win. Because I'm quite certain it's an anti-hunting place. So apparently today was the last day for voting to get him in for the final group. I don't know what the hell it is. His mom and everybody's more wound up about it than me at this stage of the game, but my gut's usually right about everything. And my gut was screaming, there's no way they're going to let him win with that stuffed grizzly bear laying upside down behind him in a rifle in the picture, right? But whatever, we took it as far as we could. And he was in first today with minutes to go, and then all of a sudden he's in third? Huh? And I don't know the rules, but I think he had to remain in first to go into the very finals or something. I don't know. And he got blasted down to third from first within minutes for the ending of whatever segment of the contest was to look into it further, but that's the update I got there. Thank you so much. Everybody supported our little Chippy. There's a huge turnout of me. He sure gave everybody a run for their money, didn't he? If that was the end today, I'm not confirmed, but I have a feeling he might be out because I don't know why. He would have to remain in first today if it was going to be for one more final. I don't know. I don't understand, but I know one thing. Everybody sure came together, right? But I'll look into the contest details here shortly and find out the absolute end results. And that's that. There you go. I'll be back tomorrow night or the next day. So get me your information and share it with me, all right? Share my story at howtohunt.com. Monday. I think Mike, the rancher, is back on here on Monday with me, I think. I'll know when I get home. A little discombobulated here. I'll be back later. Be safe. Have a wicked, awesome weekend. And make sure you do what you love to do this weekend, please. And bring a child with you if you can. Later.